Hello everybody, my name is Joe Quick and this is Joe's Quick Review. I've been away for a while, but I'm back to review KOA and the 5 Pirates of Mara, created by Chibig Studio. Now when I first saw their Kickstarter campaign for this project, it looked like a charming 3D platforming adventure, similar to the likes of Ratchet & Clank, Spyro or Super Mario Odyssey. I was super excited to explore this world and the story, so I backed the project along with 5,000 others to help the team raise nearly €300,000, nearly 10 times more than their original goal. That's quite an accomplishment. Chibig already has a large community and several games under their belt. In addition to that, this game is part of a larger universe which they are creating, so people may already know some of the characters in this world and are keen to see their next adventure. The campaign was also promoted by Backer Kit and also Backer Camp. It's no surprise that this one was so successful. But I didn't enjoy it as much as I had hoped, and I guess I can partly blame myself for creating expectations of the game which were not met, and partly blame the promotion of the game for subtly hiding this element of the gameplay. So what is it that I'm moaning about? I like the game, the concept, design, artwork and characters, but I was expecting a nice big open world to explore. Instead, the game is broken down into individual challenges, or slow and repetitive narrative. Let me explain. The general concept is you complete a race, receive a piece of the map, and then return to a lady who lives at the top of a big hill so that she can translate the map for you. Then you run back down the hill to your boat so that you can move to the next location and compete in the next race. And this goes on and on and on. I can understand the game design, as this island is the central hub for all the other features, and each time you visit you are introduced to elements such as unlocking new outfits, upgrading your boat, new backpack designs, but this is all fairly trivial and actually more irritating than entertaining if you just want to progress in the game. Switching our attention to the levels, the level design is great and each world feels different, with nice colourful maps to bring the world to life. What let it down, at least for me, was the fact that they are just that, levels. When I first started playing, I was enjoying exploring the world and finding out what secrets it had to offer, only to be told at the end that I didn't do very well because I took too long, which made me feel a bit rubbish. So for the remainder of the levels, I just did what I could to get through them as fast as possible, overlooking what other features they had to offer, like this giant robot holding a seal. It would have been nice to be able to leisurely explore the island and then compete in the race, and it wouldn't have taken much more work to implement that in the game. Overlooking these facts, it's a cute game with a simple story and modest challenges with reasonable difficulty progression, ideal for a younger audience or fans of cute and colourful designs. Let's break it down a bit. Looking at the graphics, we have a bright and colourful 3D world. They've used a fairly low poly count on the models, which is only noticeable when they close up on the main character. It felt like some of the earlier islands were given more attention than the later ones, but at no point do they feel like they don't belong to the world that they are creating. For the world map, I believe they have used a top-down camera, which serves its purpose but doesn't quite do it justice. The islands lose a lot of their character and the lapping waves around them give everything this harsh white line. In addition to the 3D elements, we have some nicely drawn 2D profiles for conversational parts of the game, which really help capture the character's design and personality. And finally, the opening of the game has this beautiful animation introducing us to the characters, which would have been great to see in some other areas of the story. Speaking about animation, there's not a massive amount going on, but the world still feels really alive. Obviously the vibrant colours help, but each character has some kind of idle animation. Even the boat bobs up and down on the water, as do the 2D characters. Nothing is static, which helps keep your attention on the screen. Good use of screen overlays and particles also play a part in bringing the world to life. A great example being in the Ice Island. Not only do we have this giant robot coming from left and right, we have the snowfall and the speed lines all bringing this to life like a page from a comic book. Don't expect to be blown away by the storyline. You are going to compete in the big trial of the 5 Pirates of Mara to become the next pirate in their ranks. The pirates have also ransacked the island of Kilis, so you have the optional task of re-establishing the island through gaining collectibles in the game. Throughout the game you will meet each of the pirates, who are surprisingly friendly, polite and apologetic, and you must complete their trials in order to gain their piece of the map and progress to the next stage. The biggest risk you face in this story is probably making too many friends. Nothing will take you by surprise with the UI. The menus are very straightforward and easy to navigate. In-game, on the top right you have a timer, so again you can keep track of how long you spend exploring the level, and you have another circle which indicates there is a collectible in the level. There can be 1, 2 or 3 collectible items, but you won't know what they are until you find them. In the top left corner you have a shell counter which increases every time you pick up a shell. This is your in-game currency, and you have a health indicator. Get hit 3 times and you'll go back to the last checkpoint. As a final touch to the on-screen UI, you can jump in the settings and switch on a speedrun timer, which is just a slightly larger clock with milliseconds displayed. You can play the game with controller or keyboard, and the buttons are configurable. The camera is self-driven, so you only need to focus on your direction and the 4 action buttons: jump, grab, the famous butt slam, and run or roll. The fact that the last button was combined was a bit of a pain point for me. The idea is that after you perform a jump, you can go into a roll and then perform a long jump. But because you are holding down the button constantly to run, I say that in quotation marks, I'll explain why later, because I'm holding down the button, I often go into a roll and roll off a cliff. This is a single player game, which is really a shame because they've already built the foundations to have a great multiplayer option. As you progress in the story, you unlock locations that you and 4 children on the island can race through. Why they didn't build that into a smaller multiplayer option, either local or online, is beyond me. As it stands, you have to be content with holding top place in the leaderboards. One of the few perks of having this game broken into levels is that if there's a level you particularly enjoy, it's easy to revisit and play again. On top of getting on the leaderboard, gold trophies, collectibles and a variety of mini-games, there's plenty of reasons to get back in the boat once you've finished story mode. Not to mention seeing all of KOA's more eccentric celebratory poses. I love the soundtrack for this game. Unfortunately, I had issues with the audio on this recording, so you can only hear the main theme in the background over and over again. But it's got super cool, upbeat, tropical vibes, very immersive. Give me a pina colada, I'll close my eyes and I'm spending summer in Mara. You can actually listen to the soundtrack on Spotify, so if you can't get a hold of the game, you can at least listen to the music and pretend you're playing. I'm not going to give this game a big shout out for accessibility, and I would like to see Chibic push a bit more in this direction now that it's quite an established studio. For KOA and the 5 Pirates, as mentioned before, the buttons are configurable, they have several language selections and a few other basic settings that can be changed, but otherwise the game is lacking in that department. Taking a look at the game design itself, despite my disappointment about not being able to explore the world as I had hoped, with the way the gameplay is designed, the level system works well. However, I would prefer them to be more accessible. Having to get in my boat to go here, to go there, not only feels like unnecessary space between gameplay, but I feel like I'm spending as much time looking at menus as I do playing. There is a nice variety of gameplay. The underwater environments felt a bit clunky to navigate, but unless you're designing a water-based game, these scenarios normally do feel a bit out of place. Each of the boss fights was also original and brought a different gameplay experience, which was nice, but for this level in particular they could have spent more time refining the camera experience. More than once I would run ahead of the camera and lose focus. I didn't realise it was possible to be too fast in a game that actively promotes speedruns. The jump height could have used some fine tuning, as it was often hard to judge the distance and determine if I was actually going to make the jump. You'll notice in the following clips that I'm jumping at the very edge of the platform and barely making it to the other side. And then of course there is my uncontrollable jump rolling. Again, this is a result of having the run and roll trigger assigned to the same button. So whilst I'm running to complete the level as fast as I can, I'm accidentally causing the characters to roll, and quite quickly I'm losing control of the situation. It would have been nice to split those two buttons. My last little point on the design is the run speed. There's such little difference between her standard little skip and her running, you have to ask what's the point. I have to hold that button down in every level when she could just be running to begin with. So I feel like I've been moaning a lot about this game, but I've definitely grown to love it. That's not to say it doesn't still need improvement in areas, but to experience all its good qualities, you'll just have to grab a copy and play it yourself. It's a fun, cute and colourful adventure currently available on PC, Nintendo Switch, PlayStation and Xbox. If you liked KOA and the 5 Pirates of Mara, you'll want to know that Chibi are also working on their next big title, Mika and the Witch's Mountain. Again, I've got high hopes for this one, so fingers crossed it fills some of the gaps I've mentioned today. That's all for now. Until the next Chibi adventure, take care and keep playing.